Today is an important day. Today we discuss issues that will cause national security, food security, environmental protection, and sustainable development to intersect. Today we are all here committed, convinced that the fisheries sector deserves our commitment and effort. Today we all, however, acknowledge that because of the illegal, unreported and unregulated fisheries which is taking place, we have before us confronting a barrier to us advancing this sustainable fisheries sector that we want in the Caribbean and across the world. And let me also acknowledge my good friend from Trinidad and her team. And so it is widely recognized that the IUU depletes fishing stocks. It affects our marine habitat. It puts honest fishers out of work and in unfair disadvantage. It distorts competition, weakens our coastal communities. And that is very important for us on this stage, because for us, the larger portion of our population is in the coastal community. And so this is an important discussion. It is estimated that the IUU catch and its impact rather on the environment is more than 30% of the total catch. And that for some species, IUU catches could be up to 3 times the permitted amount. Now I want that to sink in, and I want us to acknowledge the impact that has, the negative consequence that will have on the fisheries industry and on our industries nationally. It is therefore important for us to use data and to find ways to put in place systems such as that being done now through the Blue Justice Initiative. In Jamaica, a straightforward estimation of the impact of IUU fishing is difficult because of the dynamic, highly mobile, clandestine nature of this activity. However, if we look on the foreign motor fishing vessels that we have apprehended since the 1980s, and if we extrapolate the information on the average rate of poaching, we are looking at losing approximately 300 million US due to the foreign IUU fishing, and that's that's a lot for us. That's a big impact on our economy, and that's a conservative estimate of the direct losses in only a part of the picture. So, as indicated above, the devastating impact of IUU fishing results in overexploitation and the eventual collapse of important fisheries, thereby exacerbating poverty and threatening the livelihood of some of the most vulnerable citizens in our country. In Jamaica, IUU fishing by foreign poachers has been identified as one of, if not the major cause of decline of our queen conch population on the Petrobank, and even caused us to have to close down the fisheries of queen conch for 2 years. This resulted in annual losses of approximately $6 million in direct export earnings and put some 5,500, let me say that number again, 5,500 Jamaicans out of work. Think about the multiplier impact on families, the magnitude of that impact on our economy. And so the scourge of poaching, especially by foreign fishers, has cost Jamaica billions of dollars in lost earnings and has prevented thousands of Jamaicans from accessing gainful employment. Unfortunately, the appalling state of affairs is not unique to our valuable conch resources. So how do we address it? I'm going to quickly talk about just 5 issues. Number 1, vessel tracking. Now, ideally, all vessels in every country will have been fitted with equipment to be tracked. That's not the reality. The reality for us is that the vessel monitoring systems are found on the large industrial vessels, those that have the money to put them in, and have the added function, of course, of locating the vessels, which is mandatory if they're going to receive a permit to fish for conch and lobster in our waters. The reality is that there is a huge gap as it relates to those vessel monitoring systems being placed in the predominantly large, small-scale vessels. And those artisanal fishers. And those are the ones which we have now the responsibility of protecting and ensuring that we can find a way to implement that equipment in their vessels. Particularly, as Dr. Bellamy, it's the International Year of Artisanal Fishing. Secondly, let's talk about the Blue Justice community very quickly. Currently, the staff that we have at home at our National Fisheries Authority have all joined the Blue Justice community. So everyone has their own personal login, and they can access the various levels of collaboration with members from regions from the region and across the world. However, most notable has been the improvement in the interagency collaboration seen in Jamaica since we have signed the Copenhagen Agreement, and I would, of course, encourage others to do the same. The map tools that are available with GIS capability to show visuals of vessels tracked is critical, and other geospatial technologies such as satellite and radar maps are also essential. And Jamaica is developing coastal radar mapping capabilities, which is going to add to the detection of marine crafts within a certain range. Crimes associated with the fisheries sector have created great interest in combining resources at various levels and from different spheres. Because as we know, the fisheries sector is used as a shroud for human trafficking, for trafficking of guns and drugs and other criminal activity. So we in Jamaica have recognized the importance, and of course, we have given our support at the highest level in signing the Copenhagen Declaration. Let me move on quickly to the Port State Measures Agreement. Jamaica has begun, and we can announce that we have begun to take steps to accede to the Port State Measures Agreement since 2019 with the assistance and support of the FAO and the US government. And under the Port State Measures Agreement, foreign fishing vessels suspected or found to be involved in IUU activity are denied essential port services by the state who is a party to the agreement. And therefore, this acts as a deterrent to the illegally caught and traded products. Now, we again have some major gaps in Jamaica as it relates to the development of the appropriate facilities. And so we've had some discussions to see how we can advance partnerships to put in place the necessary facilities for us to operate what we have signed to. So we're talking about small vessels being equipped. We're talking about the port being in a state where we can function appropriately in accordance with the agreement. And now we're talking about enforcement. Let's discuss the enforcement capacity very, very quickly. While Jamaica is currently making efforts to improve our compliance capacity at our NFA, which is our National Fisheries Authority, the acquisition of assets such as patrol vessels and surveillance equipment also presents a major hurdle, but it is essential. And so we will need to find the funding, perhaps through international partnerships, to make sure that we are not just talking about enforcement, but we are executing and able to effect enforcement. Lastly, I want to just say that Jamaica is a party to sub-regional and regional fisheries management arrangements, and we intend to implement the agreed measures adopted in the framework of such arrangements, and those arrangements are consistent with international law. The goal is to deter the activities of vessels engaging in IUU and engaging in activities that undermine the effectiveness of conservation and management measures. And so we are particularly concerned with a number of the issues relating to, of course, those areas like conch and lobsters, which are critical to our industry. And it is essential for us, for example, to have synchronization of closed seasons for those products. That's the way that we're going to work together to solve the problem. Let me conclude by just highlighting there is no simple, no single, or no short-term solution to IUU fishing. And there's no simple, single, or short-term solution to the related organized crime issues and the network which is focusing their commitment and effort on keeping things as they are. They want the status quo. We want change. So we are the ones who have to put in more effort, more work, and have to make sure that we're not talking, but we are acting. Successful responses will require then a holistic and integrated approach where policies are linked to the drivers for IUU fishing. And to this end, Jamaica is recommending and proposing that we are fit and we are hungry and we are excited to serve in any capacity, perhaps as a regional hub, as we have proposed, for the Blue Justice Sub-Office. That's the future that we see, where we can have that capacity to directly impact and to give support within the region and beyond. Success, my friends, is going to require independent action by states, bilateral action, particularly by adjacent states, and multilateral action by all of us. It will involve greater commitment to and implementation of internationally recognized benchmarks for fisheries management across the world. I thank you and I wish for you a wonderful event.